Yeah, you've all seen them, men, women, young and old, begging for money, and this is where a lot of opinions intersect. On one corner, the ACLU is fighting for panhandler rights. Venture to a different corner, and many say the trash, the impression it leaves on tourists, is all bad for Colorado. Down the street, homeless advocates argue this is an ethical issue. Up the hill, a convicted felon says it's better than a life of crime. So our story begins early in the morning with someone who says he just needs help. 6 days a week, Leon Allen makes this walk, this daily hustle.
I've been doing this for like almost 10 years now.
It's his version of work.
It really helps out, yeah, it really does.
Panhandling on a street corner.
Oh, anything helps, you know, that's how the sign works, anything at all.
Just to make it day to day.
Thank you. If I didn't have this, I would starve pretty much.
It's not how this Navy vet ever pictured his future.
I never imagined this life.
He works the corner at 6th and Colorado.
And this side's better because you're facing the drivers themselves.
Panhandling is an issue that stirs up all kinds of emotions. Some don't like the begging, the trash, and the image it gives our city.
I don't usually give them money because I'm afraid they'll use it for drugs and alcohol.
Caitlin Boyd doesn't either.
Because I work hard for my money. They should do the same.
They don't want to see poor people.
Ben Hunting is with Homeless Out Loud.
It's as simple as that.
And he's frankly sick and tired of how we treat panhandlers.
Every time panhandling laws get brought before the federal courts strike these laws down.
It is something cities and towns in Colorado and across the country have struggled with. Just do a quick Google search and you find headline after headline, cities struggling to regulate it.
As long as these antiquated ordinances remained on the books, they could be used to harass people who were not doing anything wrong.
Mark Silverstein is with the ACLU Colorado. It recently sent letters to 31 cities and towns in Colorado demanding they lift their bans on panhandling.
That's expression that's protected by the First Amendment.
No different, the ACLU argues,
Thank you so much for your donation.
than the firefighter boot campaign every fall. But many city leaders say there must be a balance. They argue begging gives cities a black eye, and there should be places like tourist destinations and neighborhoods that are off limits.
What we'll have to do is find other ways to keep our community welcoming and open and safe.
Oh, God bless you, sir. I love you. Have a great day.
Greeley recently passed an ordinance, then changed it to a ban on aggressive panhandling.
Scored $3.
Fortunately, we still have a couple of ordinances that we can use.
There are aggressive ones that ruin it for everybody.
It's certainly a slippery slope. The ACLU recently won a lawsuit against Grand Junction, which resisted repealing its panhandling ban.
They wound up paying our attorney's fees of I think $350,000.
And then there are national stories like this, highlighting how some are just freeloaders taking advantage of your generosity.
It's hard to eat, it's hard to have a place to stay.
But then the cameraman quietly followed her and found she actually lives just 2 blocks away in this house.
Advocates for the poor and homeless say reports like those
Easy target.
are part of the problem.
You don't have to do much to cover the story, and it's been covered the same way for decades.
Hunting says the vast majority of panhandlers have few options because of health, physical limitations, and the affordable housing crisis.
Why, when 60% of our homeless community is working, why can't they afford a place to live?
If worse comes to worse, I just wave at everybody.
For Leon,
They always wave back.
it's a means to an end.
There's like a soup and crackers.
For the record, he's not homeless. He has a home, a trailer,
cookies and
that costs
crackers.
him the majority of his Social Security check.
My rent's $650, my check is like $750. So I have $100 left over for food, water, lights, gas.
A convicted thief, he says this is a more honest way to earn a living.
I'm actually on the corner making the money myself. I feel better about myself because I'm doing it honestly for once.
So he comes here
Thank you very much. Is that a foreign coin? What kind of coin was that one?
and begs for anything you can spare.
Okay, I have it.
Token for a car wash.
I love all kinds of weird stuff.
A car wash token.
It was the thought that counted.
Russell Haythorn,
Have a good day.
Thank you.
Denver 7.
You know, chances are your children have a Christmas wish list that includes some type of maybe a smartphone, an iPad, or video game.
That's right. But before you fill that request, consider some new warnings about screen time, including a groundbreaking new study from the National Institutes of Health.
It suggests screens are physically changing the brains of adolescents. And tonight, Denver 7's Russell Haythorn is taking a 360 look at screen time and kids. How much is too much?
If the best days end with dirty clothes, the Coonan kids should consider themselves lucky. Their mom, Audrey, prefers them to spend time outdoors.
To see what they're pretending and what they're acting out, or the inventions they make, or the games they play.
But just like many other kids, they also spend time in front of screens.
It's funny.
Many experts view too much screen time as an epidemic.
Because binging in life is not great.
And our kids are glued to their iPhones, tablets, iPads, computers, and Xboxes. This 360 look brings us 6 different perspectives. The child psychologist with a chilling warning. The mom fighting a losing battle. The educator who just said no to all devices. The other educator who analyzes that. The other mom who limits screen time. But we start with this former Google programming whiz who says we're all spending way too much time immersed in our screens.
This problem is underneath all other problems.
Tristan Harris is a Silicon Valley insider.
If you didn't know, Snapchat is the #1 way that teenagers in the United States communicate.
Harris says phones are like slot machines. The programmers behind the apps are giving your children rewards, so they'll come back over and over and over.
And because this is profitable, it's only going to get worse.
That brings us to Dr. Jenna Glover at Children's Hospital, Colorado.
We really are potentially opening them up to moving towards addiction.
Glover says the average kid between 8 and 18 is now in front of a screen for, get this, 7 hours a day.
Far beyond what the recommendations are. Parents should be scared.
Mother of 3, Jeray Fulton, was starting to worry.
He would play all day, every day if I would let him.
She's talking about the game Fortnite and her 11-year-old son, but it didn't stop there. Her 6-year-old was headed down the same path.
He's attention seeking. He's always saying inappropriate things. He gets his mouth washed out with soap probably like 3 times a week. So it's a never-ending battle.
So Fulton made a change about 5 weeks ago. She and her husband limited their 11-year-old to just 12 hours a week with Fortnite games and other devices. And she took the devices away from her 6-year-old entirely.
After about a week of everything being gone, he goes, "Mom, when am I not grounded anymore?" I go, "Buddy, this is your new reality."
That new reality has been a game changer.
He's a different kid now. Nothing else changed, except for the fact that we took away all the screens.
And that brings us to our school administrator.
Technology is nothing new in education. Technology giants are always trying to get technology into the classroom.
But they haven't succeeded getting into these classrooms.
Our philosophy really is based on the fact that teachers are hired to teach.
At Northern Colorado Christian Academy, or NCCA, Principal Adrian Haythorn describes the school as low-tech by design. Kids are not only prohibited from bringing cell phones, they have no laptops, no iPads, and no desktop computers.
Some of our teachers may have a laptop, they may have an iPad in there, but it's really limited to their use and their discretion when to use it.
NCCA's test scores are perhaps the best indication of how its model is working. All grade levels here score in the 70th percentile or higher on the Iowa Basics.
Putting them in front of an iPad or a tablet in the classroom does not equal better test scores.
But are those kids less proficient with technology?
We talk a lot about media use in the classroom.
Dr. Lisa Hagan is a professor at Metro State who teaches future teachers how to teach our children.
By the time they get to high school, they should be able to use Word, Excel, PowerPoints.
Yet Hagan says even kids who grow up with very little technology are still proficient. She uses the example of one of her recent students.
She said, raised by hippies, in a van, they didn't have any technology all growing up.
Yet when she got to college,
it's no problem for her.
Hagan says schools like NCCA are helping, not hindering.
So I really don't think that it's going to hinder them in any way.
What do we got here?
It's that expert advice that motivates Audrey. She only allows her kids an hour of screen time a day.
Well, I'll say, what happened to you?
So how do you navigate all this as a parent? Most experts agree. Kids under 2 should have no screen time at all. Kids 2 to 7, no more than 1 hour a day, including TV. And kids 8 to 18, no more than 2 hours a day.
This matters holistically for kids' health.
Because experts say it's better for young minds and bodies to think outside the box.
We'd love to hear from you on this. How do you handle screen time with your kids? Please email us 360@thedenverchannel.com or join the conversation on the Denver 7 Facebook and Twitter pages.
It's an iconic spot.
Since 1937, my grandfather opened it.
And then Karen Rempel has been coming here since she could tie her own shoelaces.
It's really good shrimp. It's just fresh.
So it's going to be $13.34.
But while JB's Drive-In offers a window to our past, Greeley's future is growth, sometimes at warp speed.
When I grew up here, 23rd Avenue was the end of town.
The traffic, is crazy.
If you haven't noticed, Greeley and Fort Collins are experiencing an explosion of growth.
It has just been almost as consistent as gravity.
Greeley now has 107,000 people, Fort Collins 175,000, and the State Demographics Office is predicting both will double in size over the next 20 to 30 years.
Up here in northern Colorado, there's a new growing metro area that basically we'll affectionately refer to as NOCO.
When I moved to Greeley in 1971, we were 40,000 people. We're 107 today.
It's a hot spot in part because of Metro Denver's affordability crisis.
The alternative becomes northern Colorado, which is just 45 minutes away.
Richard Werner with Upstate Colorado says there's a common expression here: move until you can afford to stop. In Denver, people commonly move to the burbs to find cheaper homes. In northern Colorado, you start at the foothills and move east. In Fort Collins, the median home price is now $410,000. As you get further east, the values drop. In Windsor, the median home price is $380,000, and by the time you get to Greeley, the median price is $271,000. Still expensive, but $140,000 cheaper than Fort Collins. The unemployment rate in NOCO is lower than the state average, just 2.6%.
And that's good, but as we have growth, we need to have jobs.
The growth represents progress to some, a nightmare to others.
Depends on who you ask. Right?
The tensions associated with it are enormous.
Growth is pushing water resources to the brink and gobbling up farmland used to grow our food.
The lettuce and peppers and onions and carrots.
Don't take just anyone's word for it. Take it from a journalist who knows a few things about this area. My great-great-grandfather built this house north of Greeley and just outside of Eaton in 1904. And my first cousin Joey and his family still live here. And my other great-great-grandfather on the other side bought this house and this farm in 1914. This farm sits on the other side of Eaton, and my brother and his family still live here. My own family is conflicted about the growth.
Well, at first I was against the growth.
Growth is good for the economy because that means people are finding jobs. But from an agricultural perspective, it means the land is shrinking.
Well, maybe the next generation doesn't get an opportunity to farm, but that's okay. They can do something else, selling the land and the water.
They always say that the last crop you'll ever grow is rooftops.
So what's contributing to the growth? It's everything you might expect: the mountains, the sunshine, and a business environment second to none.
It's a beautiful place to live. I don't blame them for coming.
In Fort Collins, formerly small businesses like New Belgium Brewery and Otterbox have mushroomed into some of the most successful corporations in the world. Fort Collins doesn't even offer incentives packages to new businesses. It doesn't have to.
Our priority is business retention, actually, and expansion.
In Greeley and Weld County, businesses like a new Smucker's Uncrustables factory and Leprino Cheese are the driving forces.
The world's largest mozzarella cheese factory is on its third expansion.
Small business is booming too.
And let it all the way out, drop those arms. Good. Good job.
Alexia Peak launched her chiropractic clinic in Greeley 8 years ago. Since then, it's grown by 900%.
It's the people here and it's the leadership here that make it such an attractive place to There's blue collar, there's professionals, there's families, and they're all open to what I have to offer.
Alrighty, I'll just grab your signature piece.
Back at JB's,
So that's my grandfather, Jess Benjamin. They called him Jesse B.
the atmosphere